time aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. This will be the last podcast we post in 2023, Richard. We survived another year of road warrior life. Another year.
Define survive.
Yeah, I mean, I think nobody has really come up with the exact formula, but it is not a 1-to-1 ratio of road warrior years to human years. There's a definite tax on the soul.
As demonstrated by, I think, some statistics we're going to share here shortly.
Yeah, some pretty damning statistics, too, I got to be honest. There's some big numbers on this page. We're going to update folks on this tremendous Air France deal that died a very untimely death and is in the process of still dying that untimely death. And we've also got a segment with the founder of Pinky Swear coming on because we're going to do a little fundraising before the end of the year. Not to let the cat completely out of the bag, but we got some matching funds for our fundraiser here. So more on that in just a bit. But if you want to find us, you can find him on all those social media places at Kerr Points. You can find me at Pizza in Motion on all of those same channels. Ed at Pizza in Motion is going to get done for you from an email standpoint, and you can text us or leave us a voicemail at 571-293-6659. So let's talk about this Air France thing first, because it was absolutely the deal of the year until it wasn't a deal anymore.
Yeah, I guess by the time you're listening to this, about a week ago, Flying Blue came out with some, I don't want to use the M word, but some very good promos where you could fly business class from Canada to Europe from anywhere from 1,500 Flying Blue miles all the way up to 15,000 Flying Blue miles in business class one way from Canada, Ottawa, Montreal, or Toronto to a variety of destinations. And it had its moment. It went semi-viral here in the Points and Miles community. A lot of people booked tickets. I think you booked a couple for friends. I booked 4 for my family. But,
Yep.
Obviously, I think what we're going to talk about is the way that this was handled and how that is the thing that stood out compared to any mistake, any really good promos that came out in the past.
And it sounded like the handling was going to start well. Like, I think you and I have been around this game long enough to know that the 1,500-mile awards had a very high risk of failure or being canceled. Like, that was, if you booked non-refundable travel around a 1,500-mile one-way business class award, that was a buyer beware sort of risk. But the program communicated, I think on Flyer Talk, that they were going to honor reservations for Flying Blue members who had elite status. And that's where we sort of end up in this little murky spot as of today, because it seems like some of those have been canceled.
Yeah. So Ben Lipsey, the head of Flying Blue, who actually got his start in the loyalty industry because of a DM that he sent, or a PM in Flyer Talk, to the CCO of Air Canada back in the day, who hired him as an intern. Now he runs the Flying Blue program after a few stops along the way. Went on there and said, hey, we're going to handle it this way, where the elites are going to have the 13,500 and 15,000 mile things offered, and everybody else is going to be canceled. First comment is, as soon as I read that, I was like, the cesspool that is Flyer Talk in 2023 is going to eat this alive. And sure enough, like within a couple comments, people are like, I'm suing. And it's just like, these are like a bunch of old white guys behind their keyboard warriors. Like,
don't forget the orange soda and Pop-Tarts in the dark room.
Yeah, developing photos they should never have. Complaining about this. And yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought, why haven't more programs in the past done this where you reward your top elites?
Right.
Like, our bad,
like
but
that.
those of you that are loyal to us, we're going to honor this. It's awesome. But did you say that some of those are even being canceled?
There were a couple of reports of those being canceled. I suspect it's mistakes because I haven't seen widespread cancellation of those.
No.
So I think it's probably just some wires crossed on that is my guess. Still a little early on that, but I think if we had seen wholesale cancellations of elite status ones, we would see an uproar. And I think, like you have Air France elite status, right?
So I do, yeah.
Is yours still intact?
Yeah, I still do have my my booking. Yep, just checking again. Maybe yep, still right here. So yeah, we ended up booking.
Sorry to ruin your day.
No, it was 47,000 miles total for the 4 of us to fly from Toronto to Florence in business class with a stop in Amsterdam, because the kids get 25% off even on the promo fares, which I think is great.
Right.
So I mean that trip is still intact for us, which is fantastic. I just thought it was great, and I just thought that the Flyer Talk predictions were Flyer Talk responses were so predictable, man. Like, what? Remember when that place used to be an awesome place to go and hang out?
Yeah, and everybody who's everybody's probably the wrong word, but the vast majority of people that are complaining about it already understand the way these things work and have seen multiple mistake fares in the past and have to know that this was going to be, like, clearly at the 1,500 level was almost certainly not going to be honored. At the 15,000 mile level, I mean, to your point, it was fairly widespread. So I think that's the only reason why maybe there's more doubt on my part about them keeping those in place. I mean, Gary obviously has a tremendous following View from the Wing, but I mean, this also made Dan Steele's and a lot of other sites, and so I would imagine Air France got hit pretty hard on this. But to your point also, like honoring this for the elite members, man, I mean, that makes just so much
Why
sense.
hasn't that
It's
been
also
done
like,
before? Like that's so
I don't
it's
know.
so
I don't know why.
obvious. Like
Yeah.
I've never thought of
So
that
yeah,
before. It's so
so obvious.
Yeah.
So kudos to Ben and his team for coming up with that. And I would say, just based on how hard it is to get Air France elite status, unless you're specifically going to credit flights to something that may be less effective for you. I mean, what do we think? Like 2% of Flyer Talk has Air France elite status.
Yeah,
I mean, so
less than that, bro.
So the vast majority of people that booked these don't have elite status and got it canceled. So that's your sour grapes. You always want to look for the source. The source is these are not the people that are going to get to use this promotion or mistake, whatever you want to call it, and so they're mad.
Yeah, these are
Shocker.
not the people that are going to make me money, and therefore businesses deciding
Right.
not like I guess that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned now in 2.5 years of being on the other side. Like unless these companies make money, it all goes away. So you as a consumer
Right.
should want to support the company making rational decisions. Again, that's the caveat here, making rational decisions to ensure
Right.
that they continue to make money so that we can all continue to do great things. It's when the people hammer deals that are going to cost the company millions and they get mad. Like it just doesn't make sense. It's just a certain level of selfishness and aloofness that makes for those kinds of replies. So I thought this was a great way to handle it. I do think there should be some accountability when mistakes are had. I think in this case, 1,500 is more than obvious that this is a mistake, and like when it's not honored, like that's just more than obvious. But the PR move to honor for elites is just brilliant. So I think this is the way that airlines and hotels should handle these going forward. Own up to the mistake to the people that make you money, and then to everybody else say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think, the more widespread this is, people say, well, these are just free seats on, any specific airline. But I think the issue with this one is it was so widespread. And so what you start to run into there, potentially, obviously you and I don't have the inside numbers, but potentially what you run into is they're actually giving away seats that they expected to fill. And you and I both know that a lot of those international flights, really thrive on the income from the pointy end of the plane.
Mhm.
And, the coach is, sort of like the whipped cream and the cherry, but the sundae is that premium cabin. And so if it was one day or one route, maybe this has more likelihood to succeed. But a lot of the routes went through Charles de Gaulle. So now you're talking the first 4 or 5 months of the year that we're just choking up a ton of premium cabin inventory to Charles de Gaulle out of Canada. And that's going to start to come at a significant cost to the airline.
Yep. That's all I have to say about that. I thought it was
Yeah.
looking forward to the trip. Sorry.
Little
Sorry,
bit,
everybody who had
little
to
bit of roller
cancel.
coaster.
Sorry,
Yeah, exactly.
everybody.
A little bit of roller coaster for those that don't have Air France status. So
Yeah.
we'll live vicariously through you, Kurt. I would expect lots of pictures and bring me back some clogs or something, man.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to spend any time in Amsterdam. I've always wanted to go to Venice, Florence, obviously somewhere I know for the importance of the history and culture. So I wasn't on my radar, but we're going to check it out now. And then I think we're going to do Venice. And because it's a winter trip, almost got to the Dolomites last year. And I just hear it's an awesome place. So I think we're going to scoot up to the Dolomites as well and just make it a little Italian winter getaway. And I'm excited to check out Venice in off-peak period because looking at the pictures and videos now of Venice during peak times look absolutely miserable. So I'm excited, even if it's going to be a little cold, to check it out off-peak.
Yeah, and I think so. Two things. First off, Venice is one of my favorite places. You're talking about maybe a 3-hour train ride from Florence to Venice. Personally, I think the Grand Canal is probably the least grand part of Venice. It's really getting lost on the side streets, and so it might be. And not might be. I'm sure it'll be cold during that time. But my 2 cents is I think you'll still have a great time. We loved Venice. Everybody told us we weren't going to enjoy Venice when we went. That it was too dirty and too crowded. We've been multiple times now. As long as you get off the beaten path, you'll love it. Short story. Last time we were there, our kids were much younger. We took the bus boats, whatever. I'm vapor ready, thank you. Back to the main termini, which is where the main boat lines connect with the train lines. We walked across what's called the Freedom Bridge, and then we said to the kids, look, there's the sun up in the sky. That's roughly the direction of our hotel. We were staying at the Daniele back when it was part of Starwood Preferred Guest, and we said, you guys lead the way. And they just wandered their way down back alleys for a couple hours. We stopped for gelato. They climbed some trees, all that. And at some point, they popped out on the Grand Canal, right near our hotel, and they were super thrilled with it. And it was just a fun day to get lost. We bought some stationery, we bought some stamps, like all kinds of stuff, wax kits. Like it was just fun to wander through some of the back alleys.
Can't wait for it. Looking forward to it, along with lots and lots of pizza and pasta and wine.
It's the only place my daughter loves eating pizza is Italy. So,
ooh,
yeah,
bougie cat.
Yes, she is bougie cat. Yep, for sure. Great segue into recognizing our sponsor for this week, Thrifty Traveler. I got a text alert. We talked a little bit about this last week, but I got a text alert on this deal well before anybody else wrote about it. So I looked back at the timestamps because I put a note in our Slack community around 11 something, and I don't think the first blog post came out till early afternoon. So I had a 3-hour head start. So did anybody else who's a subscriber to Thrifty Traveler Premium. And in these instances, that's the difference between finding something that's going to stick and not. Now, in this case, yes, we understand these got canceled, but if this was really going to be honored, which, we've seen plenty of these that have been honored, inventory goes quickly, first people in get their pick of dates. And, Thrifty Traveler Premium gave me a couple of things. First off, it gave me a big head start, and then with the ability to customize notifications, I was able to get a text alert because I was in the middle of doing something else, and I got a text, and it's like, wait, what's this? Oh, gosh, we need to work on this now. So from my standpoint, love having them as a sponsor of the show. Appreciate their support, but I think just a great example of how you can get the value out of this sort of a membership. You're going to see things like this pop up when crazy stuff happens. And in this case, they did a great job giving folks a head start.
And I still have my ticket because of them giving me the heads up. So,
amen. I wish I had Air France status, man. I'd be going to Venice with you. Just not where we're going to be, but we're going to talk about everything we did do this year, and then we're gonna take a quick break to talk to the CEO of Pinky Swear. So I've got my Flighty Passport up, and it looks ugly. I'm curious how ugly yours looks. So how many total flights in 2023?
That's 69 flights.
Man, 106 flights for me.
Oof. Woof.
Total flight time for me was 13 days, 7 hours on planes. 13 days, 7 hours, or what? That's about 5% of the year?
That's
a
a
little less
lot.
than 5.
So that's 7 days, 23 hours, 24 airports, 13 airlines, 70,000 miles, 2.8 times around the world. That is a lot of times between Atlanta and New York City to get around the world 2.8 times.
Yeah. So for those numbers, I was 41 airports, of which a good handful of those, probably say 8 to 10 were new airports for me. 12 airlines, 127,819 miles. Of those, 21 were international flights, 7 were quote unquote long haul flights, and that was 5.1 times around the earth. Last thing I want to share, I want to see what yours are. Shortest flight of the year and longest flight of the year.
Shortest flight of the year was Atlanta to Asheville at 165 miles, and longest flight was Dulles to Dubai at 7,055 miles.
Nice. So I got you beat on one. I have the shortest flight, and you have the longest flight. My shortest flight was Lahui to Honolulu at 103 miles. It's like 7 minutes in the air. And my longest flight of the year was also involved Honolulu, JFK to Honolulu at 4,974 miles. So you got me beat by like 3,000 miles on that one.
I really like the updates to the Flighty Passport this year. The new stat that I like here is the hours lost from delays. How many hours did you lose to delays?
I lost, so it's a little bit inaccurate because I actually had one that I finally canceled. That was, it was 4 hours delayed when I finally bailed. So I have listed at 19 hours, but I'm really at least 23.
All right, I'm at 10 hours, which for that much domestic flying, I think if you told me, hey, you'll have a total of 10 hours of delays over the year, I would take that hand over fist. No problem.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. I feel like mine's a little higher than I would expect because I had a few that were, what I would call egregiously late, like multiple hours delayed. And I kind of feel like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a 1% kind of thing. I don't feel like you're going to have multiple flights delayed more than 4 hours apiece. And I think I had 3 this year. And then a couple like 2-hour ones. Like I had a Delta 2-hour delay, which was like, yuck.
I like the 39 total routes. Guess my most popular route. If we're
4A. Atlanta to good question. Which airport? So I would say Atlanta to LaGuardia.
Atlanta to Newark because of all the United challenge I did.
Right.
But Atlanta to New York City, all 3 airports combined, it is 25 round trip flights.
Wow. Where did you find most popular routes? Oh, here's top routes. Do you want to guess?
It's got to be
Dulles
to Vegas.
It was Dulles to Vegas.
Yeah.
Second most popular was Chicago to Dulles, which would
On
be all the
Spirit
nights I
Airlines.
left Vegas late and slept. No, yeah, it's Spirit from Vegas
So,
to
yeah.
O'Hare. But talk about a who's who. My top routes: Dulles, LA, Dulles, Vegas, Chicago, Dulles, Dulles, Orlando, Vegas, Dulles, Vegas, Chicago, and then more Dulles. I'm sorry, more Orlando. A lot of Orlando on there. Hard to believe.
A lot of Orlando. Yeah, how many times did I fly to Orlando this year? Actually, I think Swarm would be a better tool instead of Flighty to see Orlando. I don't know, a lot.
I had 5 Dulles MCO. I don't remember if I had a national or not. So I had at least 5 trips to Disney.
Looks like I had 4. 3 from Atlanta and 1 from New York, which I remember that one. So looks like I had.
Right.
Oh, and then we drove, so 5. And then we drove with the RV one time, so 5. Yeah, 5 trips to Disney in 2023.
You are crazy. All right, we're going to take a quick stop here, and I recorded this interview earlier. We couldn't get all the schedules to match up, so I sat down with the CEO of Pinky Swear. For folks who don't remember, we talked about this almost a year ago. There's actually one of our members of our Slack community, Corey. It was a super awesome moment. Right when we started the Slack community, we had this meetup channel. And as an aside, if you want to support the show, there's links in the show notes. We charge a few bucks a month. You can be a part of the community. We do happy hours on an almost weekly basis, lots of giveaways. We did a meetup at Disneyland. But anyway, right after the Slack community started, I was posting some of my travel, so if folks were in Vegas because it's a popular enough place that I could grab a drink with someone. And Corey's like, hey, I can meet you during your next trip. And he flew out just to have a drink with me, which I think you and I would both agree is probably not a good enough reason just to fly somewhere.
Especially when you're just going to drink Diet Coke. So it's like,
yeah. Yeah, and we did have fun. We had a drink at the Nomad Bar inside Park MGM, and he told me about this charity that he's supporting. Corey's a business guy like you and I, but he supports this charity called Pinky Swear, and they do some really awesome stuff in terms of helping kids. And I don't want to. I think I want to leave the folks at Pinky Swear to sort of explain it to us, and then on the other side of that, you and I can talk a little bit about what we're doing on the show. So let's take a quick pause there. We'll come back to talk about that, and then we'll wrap up with our status achievements of the year. All right, guys, I am here with Erica Campbell, who runs the Pinky Swear Foundation, and I had the good fortune to meet her a number of months ago virtually through our Slack community member, Corey, who's actually going to be helping us out today with our fundraiser. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Erica is going to dive into Pinky Swear Foundation, and I think she probably does an even better job than I do of explaining what they do, which is awesome. But we are a travel podcast, and so before we dive any further, I have a bone to pick, Erica, and it's a big one.
Oh, no.
So, I appreciate the fact that you were willing to share, but for folks who are listening or watching the show, Erica noted to me that her family just got the Sun Country Visa card, and it's not a card we're a huge fan of on the show. I got to be honest, and so I understand you got it because you wanted to save money on bag fees and stuff like that, and totally get it. But I'll be honest, I wasn't terribly familiar with the Sun Country Visa before you mentioned. I knew there was a Sun Country Visa, so I went and looked at the card, and you're earning points to save money on those bags and stuff like that. You don't just get them for free; you get 50% off. So I'm hopeful that when we're done, I'm going to shoot you a couple of credit cards that I think will earn you more, and you can even use the points for cash back. And so like for example, and I don't have favorites, but one card that we recommend a lot in the show is the Capital One Venture X card. You can earn 10 points per dollar on that card when you charge travel on it, and then you can use those 10 points to erase any travel charge. For example, a bag charge from Sun Country Airlines. But
I cannot wait to tell my husband this because he's the one who's like, we cannot pay for bags anymore. I'm done. Get in the card. I had a feeling you and your listeners would give me the thumbs down.
Yeah. Look, you're directionally accurate. Like, I love that you guys are thinking about how to get stuff for free. We're just going to help you do it better. So
Capital One Venture X, I'm on it.
That's one of them. We're going to give you a couple. So I'll send you a list when we're done. And I'm sure Corey has some recommendations for you too. But tell your husband to tune in just in case he doesn't believe you that he can hear it from us, the quote unquote experts. So, but you're expert in something else. And I think, going back to for folks who've been who haven't been fans of the show for a long time, shame on you for not listening every week. But back in February, we talked about Pinky Swear on the show. And we made a donation to them on behalf of the show because one of our Slack community members, Corey, actually one of our very first members, told me this story when he flew to Las Vegas to meet me shortly after we started the Slack community. And it was a very heartwarming story for me because I have kids, and it was just it was this awesome story about a kid who clearly was older than their years in terms of understanding the world. And I think, like, so I'm gonna stop for a second. I think you'll do a better job explaining the story behind Pinky Swear. I think Corey did a great job when we were together explaining it to me, but I'd love to hear you tell the audience about Pinky Swear.
Well, Ed, I'm just still impressed that you and Corey took the time to learn the story, but also to get together and personally talk about how important it is to be philanthropic this time of year, which is how we started. So nearly 20 years ago, there was actually a 9-year-old boy named Mitch, and he was diagnosed with a terminal bone cancer. And he was in the hospital one night and overheard a family who couldn't afford Christmas presents, and it broke his heart. So this 9-year-old boy made the decision to withdraw his entire life savings, which is about $6,000, and he withdrew it from the bank and put it into orange envelopes and anonymously donated all of this money to every other kid on the oncology floor, including the family next door. And they were asleep. And he put the envelope on the bedside table, and he was in a wheelchair, and he sort of wheels out a little bit, and he hits the side of the door frame. He's like, Dad, run. So the two of them, Mitch is wheeling out and his dad's running after him, and they go to the elevator and the door closes and Mitch is out of breath. And he's like, Dad, that was awesome. I so loved giving, and I can't wait to do it next year. And unfortunately, Mitch's diagnosis was really serious, and his dad wanted to be honest with him. So he looked down at his son and he said, hey, buddy, I'm sorry, but I don't think you're going to be here next year. And so this 9-year-old boy, with the innocence of a child and the courage leader, looks up at his dad and he says, Dad, okay, well, you Pinky Swear promise me that we're going to do this, you're going to do this after I'm gone. So that one night, just around the holidays, this is where the Pinky Swear Foundation was born. And, we continue to do what Mitch did, which is we provide that direct financial support to families when they have a child in treatment. And it's an incredible way to just directly impact that childhood cancer journey. It's a complement to all of the medical stuff. It's a way to take away the financial stress that comes along with the childhood cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, and we've been involved in the cancer community for a long time, and I would say that the childhood cancer community as a whole doesn't necessarily get the same attention as the elderly cancer community. And childhood cancer is in many cases heartbreaking because you haven't had the fulfillment of a life. And so for Mitch to have this forethought as a kid that young to say that A, that they wanted to do this, but then B, like, hey, Dad, you got to promise me that we're going to continue to do this. I love what you guys are doing at Pinky Swear, and that was why we talked about it on the show after I heard about it from Corey. No good excuses, but we had talked about having you on months ago, and you dropped it in my LinkedIn box and said, hey, Ed, love to come on the show, which was a good kick in the ass for me. And as we were talking about it, Corey, who's still a member of the Slack community, I'll probably see him on happy hour tonight. He said, hey, I want to use a special link when we do the fundraise because I want to match the first $500 in donations. And I said, that's super awesome. But the only way that I'm good with that is if I can also match the first $500 in donations. So for folks that are thinking about donating, as Erica said, it's the end of the year. Maybe you haven't finished off your charitable giving for this year. Maybe you've got a company that has a corporate match involved and we get to 4X. But at a bare minimum, anything that you guys donate up to $500 to our fundraiser, you'll see a link below Erica and I on the screen. There's also a link in the show notes. Corey and I will be matching dollar for dollar up to the first $500. And that's a minimum of $1,000 that we're going to match along with the $500 that we hope comes from you guys, that the Miles to Go community and Corey will be matching. And I know Corey's been involved with you guys for quite a while, Erica.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I just want to point out, because I know your community likes to multiply things. So, $100 donation, actually, if you guys are tripling it, turns into 300. So you got 3X on this one. So I hope that resonates,
Oh, it definitely resonates with our group. They like to be competitive. They like multiples. And as Richard said just a few moments ago when he couldn't be with us recording, he said this is like a transfer bonus, like a big transfer bonus for us. So think about it in terms of a big transfer bonus. As I said, there'll be a link on the screen for folks. But we can't let Erica go before talking a little bit of travel, and I don't want to leave it with just, razzing her about the Sun Country Visa card, though I do think that's a very special moment, the first time we've ever talked about the Sun Country Visa card in the show. But I'd love to talk a little bit about your travel history and your travel future. So first and foremost, what's a place you've been to or a trip you remember that you're like, hey, that was a super awesome time?
Okay, so you might laugh about this one too, Ed, but I love cruises. Like that's my jam. And
I'm
here's
not gonna laugh
why.
about that.
You get to travel to like 5 different destinations and you never have to repack and unpack your suitcase. It's like a floating college campus, and
Yep.
I'm a big fan of cruises.
Yeah, I tell you, so cruises are my wife and mine compromise vacation because I love going to 5 or 6 different places on every trip, and I'm so used to packing and unpacking with my regular work travel that packing up is sort of like, whatever, we'll just go to another hotel. She likes to go somewhere. It's so cute. She actually uses like the dressers and the drawers in hotel rooms and
Oh,
stuff
she
like
puts them
that. I've
all
never
in.
done that in
Yep.
my life. Oh yeah, yeah. So on a cruise ship, she can unpack everything, and
Oh,
but we get to go to a bunch of different places. So cruises actually work out really, really well for both her and I. It meets both of our travel needs. It checks a travel box for both of us.
totally. Yes. I will admit that I do like to unpack into all of the drawers as well. So kudos to your wife. It's organization. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yep. There definitely is a level of organization there that I don't have when it comes to traveling, for sure. How about places you're looking forward to? Like, what's on the radar that you're like, gosh, I can't wait to go?
Oh, I don't know why, but I've always want to go to Greece. Like
Yeah.
that to me, you see the pictures of the cliffs and the city along the water and the blue water. Yeah. That one's on my bucket list. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but maybe 2024 or 25.
Well, we're gonna help you get there for sure. Like this is what we do for a living. Like we know how to find things, and like even though they didn't get honored, there was an incredible deal from Air France last week. I saw some legitimate seats to Europe for 40 or 50,000 points one way. Can't get there with the Sun Country visa, but we're gonna work on that. We're
Yeah.
gonna work on that.
Wait, can I
But
ask for a very special favor then, Ed? If you guys
yeah,
are really into this, I do need to get to the UK next summer because I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I did find a
yeah.
way to get Taylor Swift tickets in the UK.
Oh wow, yeah. My daughter's a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Uh-huh. Yeah, although I didn't realize that I'd have to fly there. Like, I was, like, so excited I had the opportunity to get the tickets, and then I was like, "Oh, no. Now I gotta buy really expensive tickets to the UK." So,
Well,
any of your viewers, have any suggestions? I could use some for June.
yeah, we'll definitely give some suggestions. One of the first is that as backwards as it sounds, one of the cheapest ways to fly to the UK is not to fly to the UK, because they have really high departure taxes when you leave from the UK. So it can actually be cheaper to take a train or a cheap flight to Paris or Amsterdam or somewhere else and fly home from one of those cities than to fly home from the UK. Because if you fly, especially if you fly in the comfy seats, which folks on the Miles to Go podcast really like the comfy seats, those are actually cheaper from Amsterdam and Paris and places like that as opposed to from the UK. So we can help with that. And in fact, so can your buddy Corey, because he's had to do this a number of times. So we're going to help you with that. What I will tell you about Greece is that you need to think about it almost like it's 2 separate trips, and you might combine them into one trip. But there's all the stuff that's mainland Greece, Athens, Vouliagmene, all the ruins, all that stuff that's incredible. And then to your point about the cliffs and stuff like that, Santorini, Mykonos, the islands are a completely separate, wonderful trip, and you could do a week or 2 in both, no problem.
God, that sounds so dreamy right now, Ed.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit. The weather's not that great right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I live in Minneapolis, which is why I own a Sun Country visa because
Yeah.
Sun Country starts here and goes all the way, but not to Greece and not to the UK. So I need some help.
I've heard, by the way, that you guys are having a little bit of a mild winter. I have a good friend of mine who runs restaurants out there. He's like, we haven't had a snow yet. It's like that's why my sales are still up. So, knock
It's
on wood, it's not going to last long. I think I just jinxed you.
You totally just jinxed us. But yeah, 40 degrees in the December in Minneapolis is a heat wave. People are wearing shorts and t-shirts right
I was
here.
gonna say in Minneapolis, people are definitely wearing shorts at 40 degrees. That's a balmy June day for you guys.
Exactly. I might as well freak out my sunglasses and lay out front.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, let's remember, folks, why we brought Erica on. We think Pinky Swear is a great charity. We think they've got an awesome mission started by a really visionary 9-year-old. And to help honor that, like I said, we've got a 2x match on any money that you guys are putting up. So for any dollar up to $500 that you guys donate, we're going to add a match of $2 to that between the Miles to Go podcast and between Corey. And we're going to get all that money over to Erica and her team so that they can help some kids have a little bit of a happier time. And I'm sure we'll be talking about Pinky Swear again in the future. And it sounds like I've got a project now. I got to figure out how to get you to the UK for Taylor Swift.
You got it. And thank you so much. And I just want to say that, to your listeners, one of the biggest requests that we get for financial support is for transportation. And so families will go anywhere to get the best treatment for their child. And a lot of times it's not where they're located. I'm actually working with a family right now that's flying to Philadelphia to go to the Children's Hospital there for specialized treatment. So I just want to say thank you for this fundraising match to all of your listeners who are feeling moved to donate this holiday season. And please learn more about us. We got lots of stories to tell and lots of direct families to help nationwide. So pinkyswear.org.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we'll have the donation link in the show notes. And we'll let you guys know what the final tally is when we raise all the money. Thanks to everybody who supports. And Erica, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ed. And I really enjoyed this conversation.
All right, Mr. Kerr, we are back. As we discussed, we want to support Pinky Swear. We think they do some awesome things for kids, which, you and I have done fundraising for Give Kids the World as well as another charity that we supported for our 5K drive. So as family folks, this stuff is important to us. So I was inspired by the fact that Corey, our Slack community member who's become a friend now, that he's going to match the first $500 in donations to Pinky Swear through our link, which will be in the show notes, and we'll have it out on social media. And we were inspired by that, so we are also matching the first $500 in donations. So if you donate to one of our links, for every dollar you donate, we're going to throw in a total of $2 between Corey and the Miles to Go folks. So let's make some kids super happy for Christmas.
It's like a 200% transfer bonus on every dollar donated.
If only we had a company that did those sorts of things. Transfer bonuses on your charitable donations. We are at the end of the year, and what better time to make sure that you get that final tax write-off. So hope people will clean out the lint in their pockets, find a $20 bill, a $50 bill, a $100 bill, and help Pinky Swear out, because it is a great time of year to make sure that every kid has a gift and has a reason to smile.
Yeah. Sounds great, man.
All right, so let's wrap it up with status. And I think we'll try and get maybe Summer and Julian on early in January to talk about what we're trying to achieve for status in 2024, maybe what our wallets look like. But for now, let's go through statuses. So what airline statuses did you end up with in 2023?
Ended up with United 1K, which is still looking to be the flagship status for next year. Thanks to the generous status match between Delta and JetBlue, I have JetBlue Mosaic 3, which I got to pick up the JetBlue Plus card in the next 10 days as of time of recording to extend that for next year, because I've taken 2 JetBlue flights up to New York and enjoyed that. I had lost all Delta status and I lost all American status, going from Delta Platinum to nothing and American Executive Platinum to nothing, because...
Remember the days of soft landing?
Yeah, that's going to be out of here. So looks like United and JetBlue for me next year, as well as Frontier, soon to be Diamond, right now 100K. So those 3 airline statuses, I'll be riding the airwaves of 2024.
I was actually previewing our recent podcast episode in the morning. One morning when my wife was helping get the kids ready for school, and I always I watch the video and then I listen to the audio to make sure it's all good for people that are tuning in. And she's walking by as you're explaining the guy shaving in the gate area from the Frontier flight. And the look on her face is like, what did he just say? Of course, I think that was also the time that she said that you should put a Santa hat on for this episode, too. Sure. Or she also suggested maybe you could be an elf to my Santa, which I think would be very befitting.
Little exact opposite body sizes there for that. But yeah, we should go with that for everything.
Yeah. Funny story, my son's principal is not a very tall fella. He's probably every bit of like 5'2", 5'3". And I love the fact that he's leaning into, on costume dress-up day at school, he came to school as an elf.
That boy.
And Charlie dressed as Santa. So I think Charlie will be taking a picture with the principal, the two of them together.
Yeah, I love it. Embrace whatever life happens to give you.
Got to lean into it. So airline status for me, United Global Services in 2023, American Executive Platinum, which I did not use much this year, but looks like I'm on track to get next year. We talked about it a little bit on the show. I'm at like 130,000, 140,000 loyalty points. I think it'll just be whatever January and February brings for portal bonuses. I'm not actively trying to get Executive Platinum right now, but we'll talk more about that in January. I do have Delta Diamond. As of the time of recording, I believe I've spent enough to qualify for Delta Diamond for next year, but we'll know shortly. I have not done my Frontier status match, but I intend to do my Frontier status match. So
Running out of time, shipmate.
Exactly right. So that's on my radar as well. Let's see. Don't have any Spirit status. Don't have any Southwest status. Oh, JetBlue. So I have JetBlue Mosaic 4. I applied for the Capital One Venture X business credit card because I felt like in the sequence of things, that was the one that was more important to me because the JetBlue flight times out of Dulles and National for me to get to Vegas are tough. And the pricing on the Mint services. So I applied for and was approved for the Capital One Venture X business card. A little surprised by that because I have a Venture X personal card and I have a Spark Miles for business card. And as you know, Capital One can be kind of wonky about multiple cards. But they approved me for that. 150,000 Venture Mile sign-up bonus is tasty as heck. I applied for the JetBlue business credit card afterwards, and I got the "we'll let you know soon" email. So haven't gotten an official notification from them yet on whether or not I'll be retaining Mosaic. I would like to just to be able to say that I could do a Kerr. I could jizzy up to New York on a JetBlue plane and then hop that Blade ride into the city to have lunch with you.
Yeah, I thought it was. I completely understand why those in the 0.05% percentile of income pay for Blade rides because 5 minutes over the city instead of 2 hours in traffic. JFK was just lovely.
Yes, and I love the footage of it from an AvGeek standpoint. That seemed like a great ride.
It was great.
All right, let's wrap up 2023 with hotel status. What'd you end up with, man?
So I will be Hyatt Globalist once again. I did qualify for Marriott Platinum, and then complete disclaimer here. Let me just scroll down and
Marriott Platinum.
Marriott Platinum. So we got that breakfast at the Swan and Dolphin next year. And then our partners over at IHG were very gracious and have extended me IHG Diamond status for another year as in spirit of our partnership. So I really appreciate that over there. I did have 2 really good, awesome IHG stays where the Diamond status came in handy. So I'm sure I'll try that out a couple times next year. But I think I'm going to be all in on the Hyatt Globalist and working away and chipping away that lifetime Globalist spend next year. And really...
And 150 nights if you can.
Yeah. Working at those milestone rewards. So be all in on Hyatt next year, except for the award stays with Marriott. We'll use those points and enjoy the platinum status.
Yeah, the milestone rewards at Hyatt are going to be badass next year. I ended up with 83 nights at Hyatt, which is probably my lowest total in a while. Maybe not the COVID years, but I pretty much almost always max that counter out. Part of that is the termination of the partnership between Hyatt and MGM. So, definitely less of my Vegas days that went to credited to Hyatt. Marriott Titanium Elite from my lifetime SPG days. I think I had 1 or 2 paid Marriott stays this year. Not a lot of activity there, but there were a couple of spots where they fit. Hilton Diamond status, that's a lifetime status for me now as well. But I also did have a bunch of Hilton nights. That's Conrad Resorts World in Vegas, which is one of my faves. And then I usually stay at the Hilton Chicago O'Hare, and then generally speaking, stay at a Hilton in Reno. So there was definitely a bunch of Hilton activity over the past year. And we also stay there a bunch for my daughter's track races down in Lynchburg, Virginia, one of my favorite places in Virginia to spend a weekend, sir. I have no IHG status to speak of. I don't even think I stayed in an IHG property this year.
I get to still have the anniversary free night from the Chase card that I carry. $49 annual fee for a free night a year. Just makes too much sense to get rid of that card. So I do dabble in the IHG from time to time.
I also had a handful of Wyndham stays this year, and I think Wyndham did me a solid from a loyalty standpoint. My points did expire, coming out of COVID, and I wrote them a quick note and said, hey, didn't get to use these points during COVID. Any way you could reinstate them? They reinstated them with no fee, and I was able to use them. Actually, used some of them when we were up in New York together for the TPG Awards. Got a decent room at the whatever that Midtown trip, whatever by Wyndham is. So no status with them, but I did enjoy a few stays with them this year, and they're still on my radar as a chain that I think in certain places offers a decent amount of value. They're not Hyatt, but compared to the Hiltons and the Marriott of the world, it's definitely not a program to sleep on, in my opinion.
Any other statuses outside of airline and hotel?
Hertz, blah. And I think I gave us presidential from having executive platinum or the right number of loyalty points from last year, but that sounds exciting that I can think of.
Yeah. I believe my MSC Black status is about to expire on that cruise line, which actually is very helpful, and they do status match from. But hopefully I get on the water in 2024 and start working at some of this Royal Caribbean status. I would say Castaway.
Because cruise status is usually lifetime status. You usually keep running up the ladder. So
right. Yeah. And then, maybe we'll work away on the who's the Castaway Club for Disney Cruises. That really doesn't give you any benefits at all. It's just a virtuous
There's one benefit. It gives you exactly one benefit.
It's like early boarding. What is it?
No, one benefit. You get to book the insanely expensive cabanas at Castaway Cay early.
Well,
that's it.
Sign me down.
yeah, $600 for a day in a cabana.
No,
yeah. But you get free bottled water with that.
Sign me down. No, I don't think I'll ever. Disney Cruises are so
actually get some pretty good deals. Oh, they really are. Yeah, we get some pretty good deals out of our Royal Caribbean status. We haven't cruised Royal in a few years, but I was able to move up the lifetime tier quite a bit in the beginning because I used to have a little inefficiency in the chart where if you booked a junior suite, it counted for double the number of nights that you were booking.
Yeah.
And so we ended up with, I won't remember what level we're at, but we're almost to the top of their status level. And we always get a fairly healthy discount on a balcony, and then there's usually a bunch of extra benefits on the ship. So between Royal and then they're owned by the same company that owns Celebrity, and so you get reciprocal benefits on both. I definitely think if you're out there cruising, if you can find deals on Royal, I still think they offer a really great value prop for their loyalty program.
Word on the street is the cruises are working hard at reinventing their loyalty programs in the very near future. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that.
Don't get rid of the lifetime status, please.
Surely they won't do that. I don't. Has a program ever gotten rid of lifetime status? I mean, they've devalued it, but have you ever just been like, that's it? I don't.
Nah, they never got rid of it, but you're right. They've significantly devalued certain ones. Looking at you, American Airlines.
Well, cheers to a few cruises in 2024.
All right, well, we got to talk wallets. We got to talk status levels for 2024. We got to figure out who we're flying, all that good stuff. But we're going to do that all next time. One last reminder, if you've got a little bit extra money in your pocket, maybe just whatever your Starbucks coffee was going to cost you tomorrow. Love to see if you could donate a couple of bucks to the Pinky Square fundraiser. Thank you so much to Corey for offering up the match of the first $500. I am going to be excited to max out this as our last donation drive of the year, but there will be more in 2024. We've actually talked about doing a crazy 5K at Disneyland next year, so we'll have to figure out a charity to do that for as well. Looks pretty exciting on paper, and I actually am thinking about doing a second 5K.
If you do 2 5Ks, you might as well just do 1 10K because that's how math works. So I think Summer and I are in for the 10K.
That's Disney math. That is Disney math. I am not a subscriber to your Disney math. You just leave that over there, not over here. All I gotta say, Mr. Kerr, is since we podcasted almost every week together this year, and Merry Christmas. Thank you for everything this year. I think it's been a great year podcasting. I've had a ton of fun, and I can't wait to do it again in 2024, man.
The years just keep on coming, don't they? They don't ever stop.
I'm every year closer to retirement. Every year you and I close the books, I'm a year closer to retirement.
And
you're going to miss me when I'm gone.
2024 is a big year for Mr. Pizzarello. We won't spill all the beans here, but it's a milestone year, man. So looking forward to what we can cook up next year for a lot of different ways.
29 years old, brother.
Yep, I hear that. Yep, me too.
For everybody who's listened in and for folks who have started watching, we are super thankful to have you as part of the show. The numbers continue to grow every year. It's super exciting for us. We love reaching out to folks and growing the reach of the show. Thanks to the sponsors that have helped us get to this point and all the guests that have been on over the course of 2023. Looking forward to an awesome 2024. Until we upload again, we've got miles to go. What did he just say?